What's good, guys? It is Sam here, and today we are going to go through our TikTok rankings of the Democratic candidates that are running for president. First, we're going to touch on some demographic data around Generation Z. Then we're going to go into TikTok and some information around TikTok. And then we're going to get into our ranking based upon the data on TikTok on who is actually number one on TikTok. Who has the most interest when it comes to Generation Z, which is the largest generation in the US. So with that being said, if this is your first time here, what's good? My name is Sam, and for those of you who are returning, it's good to freaking see you. Okay, let's get into it. So we have here, according to Statistica, the generations in the US by population size. And we can see here that Generation Z is about 25% larger than any other generation, including boomers and millennials, which is kind of interesting. So it is relevant. And when you look at the midterm elections in terms of 2018, the turnout for the midterm, and I'm just going to come down here and read this out to you. Where is it? Voters waiting to blah, 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 blah. Turnout in 2018 was the highest it had been for a midterm election since 2014. I'm sorry, 1914. 100 plus years. And you have the highest turnout. What do you think is going to happen in 2020? Well, Pew Research actually does some projections based upon the data of what's happening, and these are their projections for Pew Research. And what's kind of interesting is when you look at this, you can see that pretty much every generation is either declining or just maybe just slightly flat, which is like the millennials, right? Millennials, you can see, is basically flat. It's down a little bit, but look at this. Gen Z, they're going from less than 5% up to 10% in terms of the percentage of eligible voters by that generation. So that's a giant increase in people that are going to be participating in the election in 2020. And why are we using TikTok? Well, TikTok is where a lot of Generation Z spends a lot of time. People like to call it just like a Chinese app or whatever the case is, but you want to go where the attention is. And if a giant portion of Generation Z is spending all of their time on TikTok, you go there and you tell your story. You need to get your message out to more people. And to further back up some of this data, we pulled up Google Trends here. And this is TikTok on Google Trends. Google Trends tracks all of the web search on Google as well as the web search on YouTube over periods of time, right? So anytime somebody goes onto Google and they search for something, TikTok in this example, then Google tracks that to get to see how many searches there are for that. And look at this. What does this look like? Well, this looks like it could be the beginning of an S-curve, right? That's pretty substantial growth right there over the course of a couple years. The app didn't come out until 2017. So we've got this tremendous and increasing growth rate in terms of TikTok on Google. Now, when we look at YouTube, Google and YouTube are the number one and number two biggest sites on the planet. But when we look at YouTube and we look at TikTok versus Facebook, TikTok versus Instagram, it gets even more interesting. Check this out. This is over just the last 12 months. We have TikTok. This is laughable. To not have a presence on TikTok. TikTok is more searched on YouTube, the second biggest platform on the fucking planet, than Facebook by like 4 to 1. For probably 6 to 1 for Facebook and probably 4 to 1 for Instagram. That means for every 4 searches for Instagram, there's what, 4 times, so 16 searches for TikTok, or the other way around. Basically, for 1 search for Instagram, there's 4 searches for TikTok, right? That's crazy. And you can see that it's increasing. You can see the trajectory of where it's going. Unless something crazy happens, this is probably going to continue, right? The different branches in the military here in the U.S. have like banned the people using them. I used TikTok over the last, I don't have my phone on me, over the last 28 days. I have over 4.6 million views. I'm not running for president. and I see that military personnel for the US are still putting out content all the time. It's fun. It's easy to use, right? And if you want to win, you need to go where the people are to get your message out. So, with that being said, is I took all of the hashtags for each candidate's name because you don't get the same amount of data with these other platforms that are more developed, right? TikTok's brand new in 2017 in terms of like the US. So it's only been around for a couple of years here. So what I did is I took the hashtag for each person's name and how many views are associated with that hashtag, right? Because it's all video content on TikTok. So, and you can do a 3-second video or up to a 60-second video. So you put in a hashtag for each one of the candidates' names, see which of their hashtags has the most amount of views, right? Because that's an indication of interest for that candidate. And I stack ranked them 1 through 9. And then I also took a look to see who actually had a profile, how many followers, and how much content they were putting out. And I put all of that into a spreadsheet and came up with the top 5 candidates of Bernie Sanders, Pete Buttigieg, Joe Biden, Andrew Yang, and Elizabeth Warren. So let's dive a little bit into these numbers. These are kind of interesting, right? So this is the hashtag. So these numbers over here on the left, actually, let's do the breakdown here and then get into the numbers. So we have the breakdown. So this is the scoring. We have, and I just put the profile, meaning do they actually have an account on TikTok up there. You can see that half of the field has profiles, the other half doesn't have profiles. So the scoring is the number of views for the hashtag for each candidate's names. That represents 70% of the score. The other 30% is split into 2, where 15% of the score comes from the pieces of content that somebody is putting out, meaning that like if you go to a neighborhood and you knock on 800 doors and I go to a neighborhood and I knock on 36 doors, who do you think is going to have more relevance in that fucking neighborhood? That's how it works online. Same thing, right? If you have somebody showing up 266 times like Pete Buttigieg, right? Those are pieces of content he is putting out to Generation Z. And also people just like to think that it's just kids on TikTok. Do you know how many people that I have are in their 50s and 60s who are following me? And I'm not running for fucking president. You can see the data. What does this mean? This means that there's thousands and thousands and thousands of people who are using the platform and getting onto the platform every day. Every single day there's new people getting onto this platform. And there's like a giant swath of attention, but there's also not as many people producing. So what happens? Well, if you have this giant amount of people who are here, they want to consume content, and you only have this many people who are producing content, then your content gets shown to more. I've already had one piece of content over the last 28 days go over 1 million views. I'm not running for president. I don't have a giant YouTube channel. I'm not like, and to be able to put out content and get that much exposure because it's like fucking Instagram 7 years ago, right? There's so much attention there and not enough people competing for that attention that you get an enormous amount of exposure because there's not enough people putting out content for other people to consume. So that represents 15%. The other 15% comes from the total number of followers, and I might change this potentially. I think I might add it more towards the content for the next ranking, so make sure you press that subscribe button. Also, let me know down below in the comment section. Use the hashtag Stolt, and I'm curious to know what your thoughts are on this, and we can talk about it in the Q&A section at the end of this video. So that's the breakdown for the score. And we can see over here that somebody's clearly destroying everybody else. That is Bernie Sanders. But there's basically only 2 people who actually seem to be trying. So again, if you show up to a neighborhood and you knock on 1,000 doors, and I show up to a neighborhood and I knock on 10 doors, and then Joe Schmo just doesn't show up to the neighborhood at all, like who the fuck do you think is gonna win? Right? People who show up every day, people who put in fucking work every day. And Pete is showing up, Bernie is showing up, right? So they are getting their message out to Generation Z, who we just looked, is the largest generation in the US, who is also expected to have a tremendous amount of turnout in 2020, who also, if we come back over here, all the other generations are going down, according to the projections from Pew Research. And to not be putting out your message to the largest generation in the US is laughable. It's literally laughable to not be putting out your message. Okay, so Bernie Sanders has 12.6 million views on his hashtag. So this would be like, say, I use Bernie Sanders on a video hashtag on TikTok, right? And it's a 36-second video, right? And I get, say, 3,000 views. So there's going to be other people who put out content using his hashtag. He is also putting out content daily on TikTok, and he's probably using his hashtag as well. So all of these pieces of content who use that hashtag aggregate up to the total amount of views here, which is 12.6 million views, right? Think about how long it would take to get in front of 12.6 million people in like the physical world. Even if you have like 1/100 of a basis point conversion to people who are going to donate, people who are going to tell somebody else, people who are going to give you money, people who are going to talk about you to somebody else, and you have 1/100 of a basis point, I mean, come on, guys, like, this is laughable. Joe Biden, 6.7 million. So this shows the influence of the mainstream media, in my opinion, because Joe is not, I wouldn't expect Joe to be on fucking TikTok. Joe is not on TikTok, yet he has 6.7 million views on people who are using his hashtag on the platform. That's crazy. That's amazing. Pete, 1.9. He's in third. Elizabeth Warren, 1.8. She's at fourth. Andrew Yang, 1.6 at fifth place. And then we can see here that we have 5 people who are actually on the platform. We have 2 people who are actually using the platform, right? You might have a profile, but if you don't fucking use it, like, it's cool, it's good, it's probably a good thing, right? I mean, can't hurt, right? Because then you can at least try to learn something. But then you have 2 people who are actually executing. And we can see that through the pieces of content that have been distributed to that platform. 266 pieces of content from Pete and 164 from Bernie Sanders. So it makes sense. Bernie has a tremendous amount of awareness on other platforms. So it's playing out here on TikTok too, because he's actually telling his message on TikTok. The total number of followers on TikTok here, and on my account, you can check, link in the description. I've got like 8,500 followers, so I'm below Bernie, right? But I'm putting out content, like I'm showing up every day, and that's what you have to do to get your message out to more people. So that's kind of interesting. Let's jump over to our Q&A section. This is first question using the hashtag Stolt is from Russ. What's good, Russ? How you doing, man? Hey, I just arrived in Iowa. Saw Yang today at 2 events. That's cool, man. I hope it went well. Drake University was huge. Is there any way to determine the number of independent channels for Yang versus other channels? Yes. Yang has a lot of independent people publishing videos. Do any of the other candidates have similar support? Yes. So let's break this down a little bit. Cool. Russ is actually driving across the country and helping with the campaign, so kudos to Russ. You guys like his comment. And in terms of independent YouTube channels, so yes, we have our awareness ranking, which I've done the research for, I think it was yesterday. The awareness ranking is going to be coming out probably tomorrow. Which today is 1/19/2020, but probably going to be coming out 2020, which is tomorrow. 2020 on the 20th of January. And the awareness ranking, I actually take into consideration the independent channels who are putting out content around each one of the candidates. So this is a perfect preview. You guys should press that subscribe button and a little bell notification so you can get notified when that video comes out. But what I do is I take a look at the total number of views on content around each one of these candidates over the last 24 hours of published videos on YouTube, right? So I type the top 10 videos who, in terms of the last 24 hours, when I search for a candidate's name, who has the candidate's name in the title or in the thumbnail, or has some derivative of that candidate's name or whatever it's associated with that person. So say for Yang, it might be Yang Gang, right? So if they have Yang Gang in the title, I'm going to include that. If it's just says, you know, Biden, or if it's talking about Biden's wife, right, then I would say, you know, I would include that because it's a relevant thing in my POV. So I take all of the total number of views on the top 10 videos over the last 24 hours from independent publishers, whoever's published in the last 24 hours. So that could be any of the candidates' channels as well as any of the other channels. But what I also do, which I think is super interesting because it gives an indicator of what you just mentioned right here, is the total number of people who are publishing videos for the candidate, as well as getting an understanding to see if the other candidates have the same amount of support. And what I do is not only do I count the views on the top 10 of those videos, I count the number of videos that have been published within the last 24 hours. So that gives us an indication of how many people are publishing videos, right? And if they're getting any attention. Because if you have 47 people publishing videos over the last 24 hours around your name, right? Or your candidacy or whatever it is, and I've got 3, like, who the fuck do you think wins? You know what I mean? So that video is going to be out tomorrow morning. Super interesting stuff. We also take a look at hashtags on Instagram, hashtags on Twitter is in that. It's called the awareness ranking. It'll be out tomorrow morning. Russ, thank you so much. Drive safe, brother. I might be in Ohio in mid-February, so if anybody's going to be in Ohio or around Akron, hit me up. Links in the description. Get a workout in. We can create content, whatever you want to do. I will probably be in New York for the first 2 weeks of January, and then heading south to South Carolina. So if you are interested, hit me up and maybe we can get a workout in or something like that. Thank you so much, Russ. The next comment is from Jalisa. That's my girlfriend's name, but spelled completely differently with a J. I spend crazy amounts of time on Yang positive channels, awesome, and only visited the website, by the way, thank you for the comment, official website after several months. Surfing. Tiny channels, podcasters I follow recommended his book, so that was my intro to the Yang. Cool. The husband and I are now double maxed out baby boomers. Double maxed out. I'm not sure what that means. And hoping to canvass in Iowa. Awesome. I think more people getting engaged is a beautiful thing for the country as a whole. If people take responsibility for themselves and their own actions with the self-awareness to understand that the fucking president is not going to solve your problems, you got to like step up to the plate yourself. I think it's a beautiful thing, and I think more and more and more people should be doing that. Hoping to canvass in Iowa. I can kick this flu time. I hope you feel better, Jaleesa. I really do. I hope you feel better. Never contributed to a campaign before. Have really enjoyed following Stolt content. Has definitely fed my hopes and dreams. Well, first of all, thank you so much for the amazing comment. I really do appreciate your support and your support. If you guys agree with like what we're trying to do is understand what the fuck's actually going on versus like the polling data, and we want to see the source of the data. We've been told for decades, right, that this is what it is, and it's basically like telephone. So you remember the game when you're a kid where like I whisper, hey, I want green eggs and ham to this person here. This person turns to the next person and they whisper into their ear. And then you get around this circle and it comes back over here, and it's like, hey, Sam is going to shoot this person in the toe. Right? That's not what I said. And that's what happens with the media, right? Except for this is a distortion in the message as it goes around. That's the essence of what's happening. But with the media, it's intentional, right? Because they have other objectives. Their North Star is not the truth. Their North Star might be views or profit, or, you know, this person's got a kid and they don't give a fuck about the truth. They just want to get the job done, right? Like, everybody has their own incentives. But what we're really trying to do here is understand the truth of what America's actually interested in. That's why you have the YouTube rankings. That's why we have the Google rankings. That's why we have the social rankings, to really understand what's happening. And if you agree with this message, share this video with somebody. Share this channel with somebody. I think that we can, I'm working on putting up a website so I can put all this data online for you guys to take a look at, because I think we really should have that conversation that maybe, just maybe, in 2020 and going forward, there's a better way of doing things. So if you don't want to share the video with anybody, like, think about it for a second. Do you know anybody who you think can get value out of this? If you know somebody who can get value out of it, share the video with them. It will help them out because they can get value out of it. It helps out the channel, and we can spread what is happening here. I think it's about time we start changing the way things have been done in the past. Thank you so much, Elisa. I hope you feel amazing. I like your name. I like the way you spell your name. GoGo63, what's good? Still, question regarding YouTube stats you are displaying. Are they referring specifically and to each candidate's YouTube channel only? Yes. This is in regards to the YouTube channel ranking. So we've got a YouTube channel ranking, but we also have a YouTube search volume ranking. So the search volume ranking rates the candidates on 3 different time periods, like 12 months, 3 months, and 1 month, in terms of who had the most search volume at 12 month, 3 month, and 1 month. And then the YouTube rankings, we look at, say, the subscriber growth and the total number of views on a channel, and that's a different one. So every candidate who has a YouTube channel, we look at the views on their channel, we look at the growth on their channel, we look at the growth rates on both of those things, as well as the absolute number on both of those things. So there are 2 different things there, but they both provide us interesting information, right? So in terms of this one here, YouTube rankings, I call the other one the national YouTube rankings, I believe, just to distinguish between the two, so that I don't try to be clear in provide clarity in what I'm doing. This is specifically for each one of the candidates' channels, and not including all other content creators in the fan base. Yes, actually, we talked about this earlier in Russ's content, so thank you so much, because I think that the awareness one is going to be super interesting. I actually might even add TikTok to the awareness ranking. I ask because your idea of paying people to follow one's campaign and post content has already been done. Yes, exactly. This is what needs to happen to get the message out, I believe. Though I realize paid professional would produce smoother content, I think the messaging is way more important than the smoother content. Personally, GoGo. But I agree. There's lots of people who are doing this kind of thing, and that's what needs to happen to get the message out. Whether it's paid for the campaign or through an independent YouTuber who does this, there's a lot of people putting out a lot of content, right? And there's a lot of channels who are putting out a lot of content around each one of the candidates. So I think that a lot of comments see a lot of people putting out content around Andrew Yang, but when you look at the other side of the table, you can see that a lot of people are putting out content for a lot of the other candidates as well, in a different capacity. So yes, I agree. I think more people should do it. It works. But it made me wonder if your stats are including all those channels or any of them. No, I'm not. Check out the awareness ranking coming out tomorrow. If not, Yang's viewership is even higher than this graph shows, because I'm consistently watching Yang content, but barely any of the campaign's actual channel. Honestly, I didn't even know they had a channel. Yes, because they don't fucking use it properly, in my opinion, to get their message out, right? Like, if you want to fucking win, you got to put your message out. And I just wanted to found Yang for president. Subscribed. Nice, awesome. Thank you, GoGo, for the comment. I think that we're on to something. I know that we're on to something. I get goosebumps when I talk about this, because I know that what we're doing is probably going to be, whether it's fucking this shit or somebody else's, like, the way we have been doing things, I think there's a much more intelligent way of understanding what the fuck America is actually thinking about, like the heartbeat of America, what Americans are actually interested in, right? I don't think it's polls with fucking 1,100 people in them, right? That the media reports on as like, this is what America thinks. Joe Biden, Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, like the audacity to think that 1,100 people represents the opinion of 350 million people is fucking laughable at best, and really damaging at worst. Like, putting the wrong person in president from a standpoint of like not what the collective thinks is the best candidate causes other issues, right? Like, it's just, you guys are smart. Like, fucking think for yourself. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying you guys, but like, it's interesting to see that we've come this far doing the things that we have been doing, and clearly it's worked, right? Like, we've come this far, right? But I think that at least having the conversation, even if we don't change anything, at least having the conversation and bringing more awareness around, like, hey, maybe it's a hybrid of both. Maybe it's just data, right? And we look at the data of where people actually spend their time, right? Google. YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, like their donations. Are other people talking about them? As you mentioned, are there other channels, right? People using their hashtags. These are all indicators of interest, right? And that has millions of data points versus like a poll with several hundred or a couple thousand people. Love to know what your thoughts are down below in the comment section. I appreciate you guys. Jump over to Instagram and say, what's good? I post over there a lot. Jump over to TikTok and check it out. Download the app. Let me know if you do download the app. My link is in the description. By the end of this week, I should cross over 5 million views over the last 28 days. On YouTube, it took me about 5 years to reach 1 million views. This is over the last 28 days. I've been going in on the platform for maybe like 92 days, 95 days. It's pretty astonishing. Appreciate you guys. Peace.